Good afternoon. Nice to have you all here. Welcome to the Social Enterprise Summit 2023 International Symposium. And thank you for joining our session today, the Academic Forum, Artificial Intelligence for Good. My name is Dr. Yanto Chandra. I'm a professor at the City University of Hong Kong. And we are under technology and innovation track for this session. If you are here and you need the simultaneous interpretation, there are devices provided to you at the back, and you can switch to either 3 languages, English, Putonghua, or Cantonese, and you can help yourself. So the Social Enterprise Summit is an event that is co-organized with the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, and we have been around since 2008, so it's been like 16, 17 years. And this year's theme is sustainable well-being. Despite the topic is about sustainable well-being, and we know that technology is actually now playing a role in humans' well-being and in sustainability efforts. So that's why we brought this topic this year. And I'm sure all of you have heard or have actually used ChatGPT, maybe, right? If you haven't, that's a good opportunity. You could perhaps use POE, because we don't have direct access to ChatGPT by OpenAI. You can use POE. There are some free versions. There are paid versions if you want to use a more proper and serious version of it. So artificial intelligence, it's the big thing right now. So it's what you hear often in the news. And even before we have artificial intelligence, we have a lot of terms: AI, machine learning, deep learning. And perhaps the artificial intelligence came to our attention around late 2022 when ChatGPT was launched. That was actually the first version, was version 3.5, GPT 3.5. But it actually became so popular and actually caught everyone's attention and the media's attention. What's interesting about this new technology is that there are so many new use cases, right? You can use it for synthesis. You can synthesize information, which is very different if you're using a typical search engine. You can use it for generative purposes to generate new alternative ideas. You can use it for creative purposes, to whether it's images or it's come up with certain written content, and also evaluative purposes. You can evaluate something, whether you have a data set that you want to analyze, and this is now possible, or you have some codes that you want to create for an app or for a website, then this is now possible. Even for healthcare reasons, actually, that is the first speaker's topic. So there's so many things that can be done, but this AI is opening a lot of can of worms and a lot of new interesting issues, whether it's legit, some of them are legitimate, some of them are not so legitimate, some of them are legal, some of them are not so legal. And this creates a lot of opportunities and even risks for various sectors, be it for businesses, for government, for people who are doing social causes, including social enterprises, and also even opportunities for criminal action, right? So we are at a very interesting point of time in which this technology is so pervasive, is available to everyone. But this also opens up a lot of questions that we still don't know. And this is why we are having this session today. We are hoping to hear various viewpoints. And we are very happy, we're very lucky today to have been able to curate this session by inviting a couple of very excellent experts, because I've actually verified and talked to them and know their views, because I have involved them in my research related to AI and how we can use AI to understand various perspectives. The first speaker is a medical doctor based in the United States. He's a real doctor, not a doctor of philosophy, but he's a doctor of medicine. So he has written a book about AI and how it can be used for healthcare purposes. He will say his ideas in a moment. And then we also have, hopefully, Mr. Keith Lee. Mr. Keith Lee is a chairman of Hong Kong Wireless Technology Industry Association. He's very active in the social media. He have posted a lot of how to write prompts if you want to interact with ChatGPT and other AI engines. You can follow him. He has done a lot. And also, he comes from a technology background because he's a computer scientist, but he also ran his own IT technology company. And then we have a lawyer. So we really need to have a lawyer in this discussion. He's a lawyer and also a managing partner of a law firm that specializes in intellectual property. His name is Mr. Anthony Tong, so we are glad to have him here. So again, these things partly is related to ethics and legal issues. And of course, we have last speaker that we still are not very sure whether he's really going to join us. His name is Mr. Ivan Law. Ivan Law is CEO and co-founder of Pantheon Lab. It's an AI company that make video automation. So the faces of people that can change in a video, his company is doing this. But he's in Japan, and he's with us in the Zoom, and we are still trying. Hopefully it will work. But if the connection doesn't work, maybe it's going to be just Harvey, Keith Lee, and Anthony. But we're hoping that Ivan can join us. So that's what we have in terms of the arrangement of the speakers. And then without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Javi Castro. The stage is yours, Javi.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Yanto, for everybody inviting me here. It's an honor. So honestly, I want to say thank you to everybody. So let's get started. So go ahead and start my slides. Perfect. And go ahead and go to the next slide. So ChatGPT, basically, let's see. I just want to make sure you have the second slide up, right? Yeah, I can't see it, but I think it should say a boy saw 17 doctors over 3 years for chronic pain. And I'll just start with this. USA Today had this article, and it's really sad. They basically had this little boy who had seen 17 different doctors and saw the doctors over 3 years. And in those 3 years, let's see. Yeah, I can see it now. Okay, great. Over those 3 years, nobody knew what was wrong with them. And the poor mother kept taking this child to different doctors. And over 3 years, they kept saying, we don't know why your child is having pain. Well, the mom did something amazing. She took all the notes from all the doctors, MRIs, and started putting it into ChatGPT to see if ChatGPT could diagnose the child. Well, what was amazing is ChatGPT actually came up with a diagnosis of tethered cord syndrome. And just think of it as like a spinal disease that you can be born with or you can have. And this poor child had it. And the neurosurgeon went back and looked at all the MRIs and said, oh my gosh, I see the tethered cord syndrome. We missed it. And because of this mother and ChatGPT, they were able to diagnose this child, which I thought amazing. Next slide. So the next one is pretty interesting. When we look at ChatGPT, the IQ of ChatGPT, according to Scientific America, this article that came out back in March of this year, put the IQ of ChatGPT at 155. To give you an idea, what does that mean? The general population, as that graph shows, is between 80 and 110, somewhere in there, really between 90 and 100. Albert Einstein was at 160. There's different people there on the charts that show you how high. And what I say is we have a technology that is more intelligent in a way, better in us in many ways, that can be a companion, that can be a supplement, that can allow us to do more than what we can do. And so if we put ChatGPT plus me together, or any of us together, we're able to get more because of this. Next slide. So when we start looking at the, thank you. When we start looking at the different models, like he just mentioned, there's models for everything. We have ChatGPT 4, we have ChatGPT 3.5. I want to highlight a couple of things. ChatGPT 4, as you see, is this big 1.76 trillion model. It's really, really big, and it's divided into 8 different parts. Now, when I heard him say, hey, try the different models, I want you to understand that 3.5 is not as strong or as intelligent as 4.0. And as we start moving forward, 5 will be better than 4. And 4 is better than 3.5. And then you can see the different sizes of the different models. Llama is free, and it's very small, but it's not as good as ChatGPT 4. With that said, as the future goes forward, we're going to start seeing better and better models. Now, I think in the next 2 months, Google will have a product called Gemini, and that is going to be, in my opinion, way better than ChatGPT 4. And when that comes out, the back engine of Bard will be Gemini. Next slide. So one of the questions that was asked to me is, how do we use this? Give me some case scenarios. Well, number one, better communication. I hear that some people are listening to my conversation in English and Cantonese and other languages. Well, ChatGPT, depending if that language was trained, can be better communications between the doctor and the patient. So I put other examples. We have Bard, ChatGPT, Claude AI, Pi, Bing Chat, things that you can try. But how can we use it for better communication? As you know, we all been to the doctor, and sometimes the doctor says stuff and we don't know what they're saying. But if the doctor was able to use this information and say, hey, let's speak in their language, let's talk in their culture, let's maybe I have a doctor brain and it's very complex, and when I explain it to a patient, I don't do a good job. But if I can use ChatGPT to help me in communication, it closes the gap and make it better. Next slide. So the next thing is, when I'm seeing a patient, I tell my patients, it's okay. Use ChatGPT before you see me or your other doctor. If you know you have diabetes, hypertension, you have problems with weight, you can't sleep, why not use ChatGPT to help you make all the questions? Because when you see the doctor, it has all the questions and follow-ups, because once you go to the doctor, sometimes you forget, what do I have to say? How do I follow up? The other thing I say is, bring your laptop, bring it to the office. So when you're seeing the doctor, you have ChatGPT in front of you, and then together with the doctor and the patient, you're able to go through the questions together. And I really feel like that is going to be the future. Next slide. So when we look at this information, next slide. Thank you. When we look at this information, we think about it as, what else can I do with it? Well, I tell my doctors, change your website, fix your discharge instructions. The average doctor and patient in the United States only gets 12 minutes with their doctor. So we have to do a really good job giving information when they leave. And so, I look at this keyboard that is right here, and I'm thinking, with AI, it can take care of this conversation. It can transcribe all of it. This camera that I'm using, in theory, it can give my blood pressure. It could give my average sugar. It could give my age. And so as we start able to use this technology in healthcare, we'll be able to do more. Next slide. Thanks. So this is my favorite slide. And the reason is this. A hospital in England did this, and I think this was genius. They had a 5-year-old kid that was having trouble breathing. They diagnosed him with asthma. The parents was scared. They had regular discharge instructions that said, here's asthma. This is how you take care of it. And what they did is they took the instructions, they fed it into ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT converted it as is how you would talk to a 5-year-old. And so then they took the concepts like, hey, you need to take your medicine. You need to make sure that when you take your medicine, that you check your levels of your asthma. And what they did is they took the concept and put it into something else called Midjourney, and they made a cartoon book, basically a coloring book. And then when they discharged the patient, they gave them a little coloring book. Now the doctor can color with the patient, the parents can color with the child, the nurse can color. And now that kid that's 5 years old, instead of talking to the kid, now you're playing with the kid, showing them a cartoon. And I thought, this is the future of medicine. Next slide. So to give you a visual, what I'm talking about, there's 2 things going on in this slide. Number one, every 30 days, medical knowledge doubles. So that means back in the 1950s, it would be 50 years before medical knowledge doubled. Now, every 30 days, the amount of information that is medical that I need to know is every 30 days it doubles. If I'm a family practice doctor, I would have to be awake for 21 hours every day reading, and then I would have to do that my entire life to be able to continue to keep up. ChatGPT can help me stay up with my education, can help me research, and we can have agents that do all of that. Now, this extra diagram that I'm here, I want you to look at it very carefully. This little tiny red is anybody in a field. And this was a study done that basically said, we give you a question and you respond. So the average human did a 1 to 2. Then we put an expert, and the expert did better than the no expertise. And then they said the same question and they asked ChatGPT, and the ChatGPT 4 was better than the human. But if you see that little diagram, it's got a red above the green. What they did is they took that original human, they gave it ChatGPT and put it together, and now they're getting better quality information. So my point is this: I don't think it's going to replace me as a doctor, but if I took doctor plus AI is better than just doctor, and then that doctor is better than just AI alone. But if we learn how to use AI and our expertise together, we're going to get more. Next slide. Thank you. So when we look at ChatGPT in the United States, how can we use it? Here we have to ask permission to get for our healthcare. So if I have a patient that needs surgery, I have to send a letter to the insurance, explain why they need that surgery, and say if they do, then they will pay for it. I can use ChatGPT to help me make that letter. The other thing is, I talk to doctors, and personally I see this, where a patient comes from another system or maybe another specialist, and then by the time they see me, they may have 400 pages of medical records. So it's that thick. And so now I can use the power of ChatGPT to summarize. If I only need their last MRIs of their back, it'll give me those summaries. If I need just a small portion, it'll do it. Now, some electronic medical records try to do this, but using this generative AI, it does a really good job. The other thing is, unfortunately, doctors are not empathetic. They sometimes don't spend enough time with their patients. They don't understand their feelings. I'm saying, why not use empathy to teach you empathy in healthcare? Next slide. So one of the things that I feel like is really exciting is these large language models are doing amazing things. It's helping us develop drugs, personalized medicine, faster access to information. It's helping us create better clinical trials. One of the things that I'm amazed personally is that ChatGPT, or just, I'm sorry, AI in general, it can decrease the cost of creating a drug by 90%. So if it used to cost me, let's just say $1 billion to create a drug, now it costs me 100 million. And why does that matter? Well, unfortunately, some pharmacy companies will not spend a lot of money on certain drugs, because if they don't think there's that many people in the world with this disease, then they're not going to do it. But if we can use AI to lower the cost of drug development, now all of a sudden we're going to have more drugs for diseases that are rare. We're going to start being able to use this information to create personalized medicine. We'll be able to start using 23andMe and the DNA information that we have on our patients, and use this large language model to really help us understand and see what drugs best for that patient. Next slide. So this is really cool. I started thinking, how can I use ChatGPT in healthcare? And so, using my iPhone or any mobile device, I can take a picture of a disease, and I have some slides coming up, and I'll show you how to do it. But I can start using the power of ChatGPT with my slides. Now, when I look at, I'm an emergency room doctor, and let me give you a quick example. Sometimes I see patients that are unconscious. I don't know what happened, but I know that the paramedics, the ambulance brings the patients, and they bring me these pills, and they say, "Here, doctor, this is what the patient took." And I look at the pills, and I'm like, I don't know what they are. And I try to talk to the patient, but they're unconscious because they try to kill themselves. But now I can take this camera, and I can take a picture of the drug. It'll tell me, "Oh, doctor, this is Tylenol. I've overdosed." And then since I'm using my electronic medical record, my pharmacist can say, "Oh, Dr. Castro has a Tylenol overdose. The patient's weight is this. Let me go ahead and send the antidote." If without this kind of technology, I would have to look in a textbook, maybe take a picture of the app, try to identify what drug, or take the pills and send them to the pharmacy so the pharmacist can try to figure it out. And then I would have to call poison control to say, "Hey, what do I do? How do I take care of this? What should I look out for?" And then be able to act. But now, because I have this technology, as you see the slide, I can do this a lot better. Real quick, there's another thing in ophthalmology where the back of your retina can tell me if you have early diabetes. Believe it or not, there's a lot of disease that can tell with the back of the eye. AI, since this is structured data, can look at the back of the eye, use these pictures, and give me better diagnosis, which is amazing. One last thing, since I'm on the subject, my voice. Believe it or not, there's some studies now that my voice, they can say just with the voice for women up to 89% accuracy if they have diabetes, just with the voice. So it's amazing. Next slide. Thank you. So let's jump in on this last thing here on ChatGPT for vision. And so what can it do? It's amazing. They just rolled this out where the phone can take a picture and analyze it. So if I was in China right now and I was parking and I couldn't understand the sign, I could take a picture and it would translate it for me. It would extract that. It's just amazing. Now, China may not be a good example. Sometimes ChatGPT doesn't do a good job with translations, but that's just a proof of concept. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the next slide. So with ChatGPT 4, it's going to give me a lot of information. I'm going to be able to use it for x-rays, dermatology, CAT scans. So go ahead and do the next slide. I'm going to show you some stuff, and this is stuff that you can do, and I'm going to ask you not to do it for medical reasons. This is just to show you proof of concept. Next slide. So what I did is I took a picture, and this is classic medical school stuff. Here in the United States, we have Lyme disease. It's in a certain part of the United States, and normally it's a little tick that people find on their body, or sometimes they take the tick off, and then a few days later, they find this rash. So I told ChatGPT, hey, I woke up with this rash. I took a picture of my rash. I uploaded it. What do you think it is? And ChatGPT said, oh, this is classic bullseye rash. This is Lyme disease. And here's the amazing part. I could go through and ask it, what drugs do you treat with Lyme disease? And what are the side effects? I was amazed. Next slide. So then I went to my pharmacy friend and I asked him for different pills and just wanted to see. So we put some generic pills, some classic pills. And of the 4 pills, it recognized one correctly. The other one, it gave me a name, but it was the wrong medicine. And the other 2, I think it's because it was generic, it didn't do a good job. Now, this is just proof of concept, but I really think once you put the database of all the drugs in here, it's going to do a better job. So big picture, I think we're onto something big. Next slide. So here I took a X-ray and I wanted to see if ChatGPT saw the pneumonia. And I was able to upload it, and it went through and it gave me when I went to med school, I was told to read an X-ray a certain way, and it read it exactly how I was told to do it in med school. And then it went through and gave me the diagnosis of pneumonia. I was amazed. And then in medicine, there's something called differential diagnosis, and it's all the different ways of diagnosing, all the different possibilities of a diagnosis, and it gave me the differential. I was impressed. Next slide. And so this is just an example of how we're taught in med school. We're supposed to do the lungs, the heart, the bones, but this is very classic how we're taught. And ChatGPT did it exactly in the way we're supposed to. I was impressed. Next one, next picture. Next slide. I wanted to see how well it would do with EKGs. So I uploaded an EKG of VTAC, and this is deadly. Someone can die if you don't take care of the patient. And I wanted to see what it said. And I said, hey, I'm an ER doc. What does this EKG show? And it gave me the correct diagnosis. It gave me the right rate. I was impressed. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Because I feel like if this is on my phone in the future, I'll be able to do so much. Imagine you're in a place without internet, but if you happen to have some amount of large language model on your phone, you'll be able to do certain things in healthcare. And I'm really excited. Next slide. So this was just the interpretation of the EKG, and it went through, and it was pretty cool. Next slide. So then I wanted to push ChatGPT a little bit harder. So then I gave it another rash, and I said, hey, this is itching real bad. What do you think it is? And it gave me the right diagnosis. But then I wanted to play with it. I said, okay, how do I prevent this disease? What should I do? What are the treatments? And it did a good job. It gave me the diagnosis. It gave me how to treat this. It gave me how to prevent this disease. And I thought, this is pretty good. Now, I'm a little worried because if some patients do it, and it does it wrong or hallucinates, it's not like it bought the wrong stock. Someone can die. Here in the United States, people cannot get drugs unless they have a prescription from a doctor. But in other parts of the world, you can just pick up, if the ChatGPT tells you you have this disease and you go to the pharmacy, you can get that drug. So that's a worry that could be a danger. Next slide. So this one, I was having fun. I did a prescription. I have doctor handwriting, so I started writing, and I wanted to see if ChatGPT could extract it. I put an image in the background to be mean to ChatGPT to see if it would confuse it, but it actually read the prescription. Now, my 7s looked like 2s, and it said 2, but everything else was correct. But I was impressed because later, in a local pharmacy in the future, the pharmacist can train different people's handwritings even better and then able to translate it. So I think this is really good. The next slide is pretty much the last one. And then I have some more, but I'll just speed through those. What is the future of healthcare? I don't have my glasses right now, but you can have VR, where now the VR, when I'm discharging you as my patient, I put it on you and I can walk you through and say, this is your heart, this is your drugs, this is why I need you to take your medication. Here's why you have high cholesterol. And if I can put this on your glasses and before you leave, I can explain and teach you, I'm gonna do a better job. Now, ChatGPT 4 can do the pictures and videos. In my mind, OpenAI is working on robots. In the next 2 months, they're going to come out with robots. And I was thinking, if you have the robot and you have this technology of all the stuff I showed you, and you put it in the eyes of the robot together, now I can put this as a nurse assistant. I can use it as a doctor assistant. If I can talk to AI and say, hey, my patient in front of me, what's their blood sugar or what's their blood pressure? Or if I need to go over something, I can ask the robot to help me lift the patient. I really think this is going to be something. In the United States, the average age of a nurse is 54 years old, with 20% or higher of that average being 65 and up. So in the United States, we have a lot of nurses that are getting really older. And I'm worried that as a healthcare profession, we're not going to have nurses to help with our population. So I think the future of AI plus robot is the future. Next slide. Now, this is just an aside. I do lots of AI healthcare teaching, so it's on the website. Feel free to go. Next slide. I wanted to share my slides, so you're welcome to download them or go on my LinkedIn. But these are cheat sheets that I made for people to help them use ChatGPT in healthcare and how to use the technologies that are out there and apply it. Next slide. And so these are just examples of different things that I've done. Next slide. And then I'm going to end with this last slide. I clone my voice, I read medical journals, I feed it into ChatGPT, and then it makes a fake conversation between my business partner and I, and then with my fake voice, we created a podcast. And so within minutes, if I see something in the news, I can download it, I can clone it, and then it's on Spotify within 5 minutes. So I thank you for your time. If I can be of help, feel free to hit me up on social media.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Harvey. The one part I was very impressed was the little boy who went to see 17 different doctors and couldn't find what's wrong with him. But apparently AI, ChatGPT can give the answers. It's kind of like you're bringing 1 million doctors to look at one particular child's disease rather than seeing one person at a time. So I think that's very amazing in terms of its ability and also the promise of how this might change the future of medical practitioners. Our second speaker will be Mr. Keith Lee. He's the chairman of the Hong Kong Wireless Association. As I mentioned earlier, he's very active in the social media. He's written a lot about prompt engineering and other things. So let's welcome him. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay, got it. On the switch. Right, thank you. Well, I also got this one. Hello. Okay, so I use this one then. Well, there was a very impressive presentation of Dr. Castro, and I have to make a little small confession. What you see on the screen is entirely generated by AI within 3 minutes. So the whole entire presentation. So what I did is I put in the title the organizer gave me, and I didn't give much thought of it, and then I just fit it into AI, and then it generates a whole presentation. I actually did twice, and then I copy and paste from the two presentations, and they actually give a little tuning on the subject too. Generative AI unlocking social progress. It's not exactly that when I got it, but they fine-tune it. So, well, I said I've just heard a very impressive presentation because the first slide I'm going to show you, probably the second slide, but one of the slides I'm going to show you is that news that you have already heard, that the person that saw 17 doctors in 3 years and then couldn't find a solution, and ChatGPT told them. Okay, so let's talk about something else then. ChatGPT started whole generative AI revolution. So actually, it is not something very new, right? We are using ChatGPT 3, ChatGPT 4 nowadays, but why nobody talks about ChatGPT 2? What happened to ChatGPT 1? Nobody thought of it, right? It was because GPT-3, right? GPT-3 was developed in 2020 June, around that time. And nobody noticed that because there was no ChatGPT. There was only GPT-3. And GPT-3 is a large language model. It hasn't got a very user-friendly interface like ChatGPT. So when OpenAI released ChatGPT, it was November 30, just a little bit less than 1 year ago. So in 2022, November 30th, they released ChatGPT together with GPT 3.5. That's where we got this very nice conversation-based interface that we can ask the chatbot and it will come back with an answer. And so this thing is very new. And the difference between GPT-2 and GPT-3 is GPT-3 has 175 billion trainable parameters, which means the data that has been trained on, right? Data that hasn't been trained on is just data. Data that has been trained on, it can become knowledge. When you give them a ChatGPT type of LLM capabilities, it becomes insight. That's why nobody talks about GPT-2 because the trainable parameters is hundreds of GPT-3. GPT-2 has 1.5 billion trainable parameters, which is much less than 175 billion parameters which GPT 3.5 was trained on. So it has been, since ChatGPT release, is changing every industry we know of. Right, say education. So who needs a classroom-based education? Right, people can go to YouTube, right? They can subscribe to Patreon, they learn something new. But now they can even talk to a chatbot because these LLM, large language models, are trained on domain-specific data. But it doesn't know everything. Right? We all heard that GPT is very likely to have hallucination, which means when they didn't know something, they will make it up. And they make it up very professionally. And they are very confident in their answer, but that is total BS. And that, interestingly, I think is very, very similar to a human profession, right? Human expert. If you ask a human expert something they didn't know, they will tell you they didn't know. They will say, oh, I know this, blah, 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 in very confidence. And that's exactly the problem with these LLMs. If it hasn't been trained on, they will make up the answer. And very confidently, very professional, but it is all fake data. And the reason of that is because it is not a chatbot to tell you that it doesn't know. It's a chatbot. The purpose of the chatbot is to continue the conversation, a human-like conversation. That's the purpose. So it's not if they start telling you I don't know this, I don't know that, then it will become a very dumb chatbot we had 2 years ago. But generative AI, because each conversation is generate is generate from the ground up. You ask them something, they start generating. Versus the older chatbots, which is knowledge-based, they look in the database for an answer. If they have the answer, they give you the answer. Don't have the answer, they don't have the answer. But for generative AI, every time they get a question, they start generating. This is the generative model. Of course, there are retrieval model that some other chatbot, other generative AI use. But for ChatGPT, you generate each time you ask them a question, even you ask them the same question, they will start generating from the ground up. That's why you get different answers every time you ask. So back to the slide. So education, everybody knows that if you have some domain-specific knowledge that you want to know, or even you want some advice or insights, or you want to create something, because LLM is very good at creating answers. So if you ask them to create a presentation for social progress or AI, they will do exactly this. They will generate the whole presentation with their knowledge, with their domain expert knowledge, and give you a very good results. So healthcare, you've been hearing a lot of healthcare for the last 30 minutes. So I'm not going to repeat that, but because people, not just healthcare, let's say other professional service like legal service, you don't have to, ask for professional straight away. You can first ask LLM, which has specific domain knowledge in these areas. You can ask them a business question, you can ask them a mathematical question, you can ask them healthcare, you can ask them legal questions. Of course, you have to be specific. You have to be specific about what jurisdiction are you talking about, which countries you're talking about. But if you find something that they are really good at, you ask them something that are widely known, like a business question or history question, they will understand and they will give you some legal advice before you go to the actual lawyer. And also creativity and art. So you may have heard that AI is creating music, and that's not something new too. I think around 2016 or so, K-pop, the Korean pop songs, they are already using AI to generate music. That's why you find the Korean pop music are mostly the same. But it works. It works. They understand what gets us excited in terms of music. And now, of course, you've seen a lot of generative AI arts. These arts, these LLM has been trained with many pictures and images, and they understand what compose a good picture, and they using something called diffusion model, which they will transform the pictures into noise until it's become some white noise that nobody can recognize it, and then they use algorithm to reconstruct the noise to become the image that you instruct them with text, with natural language, and you instruct them to construct the noise back to an image, and then you get a total different image. So this is a new kind of creative, new form of creativity that nobody previously had been able to do. So I have a little story to tell. One of my friends, he has a exhibition every year, and he hired a local, renowned artist every year for that event. And this year, he didn't hire the artist. He asked Midjourney, the AI image generator, to generate all the arts he needed for that exhibition. And his artist friend is furious. But that's the way it is. Because technology advances will create opportunities, but also may destroy something already existed. Okay, so you've heard that story. I'm not going to repeat that, but 3 years since 70 doctors, and then ChatGPT solved the problem. It's very interesting. And also, you've heard this before. That LLM can see images, these medical images, and then give you back some answers. So also, journalism, content creation, innovative news reporting. News is a very sensitive subject. They are factual news, they are fake news, and generative AI is particularly good at generating fake news. Right? News is normal news is good. So you've seen something, and normally you have to have a journalist to write it out as a whole piece of news, but now you don't have to go through that procedure. You just tell ChatGPT, I've seen something, this is a fact. Act as a journalist, write a piece of news report, and it will write the piece of news report just from that fact. So it's much quicker. In this world, we always want the real-time, up-to-date, up-to-the-second news, and ChatGPT can do exactly that. But the problem is, it's also very good at generating fake news, right? This is a fake pictures of myself, superimposed on Elon Musk's meme picture, and fake news, and deepfake, and voice cloning, all these different, all these technologies. You used to have to have a very big computer, very powerful computer, and lots of technical knowledge to be able to do these things. So no deepfakes, not new, but now it is on everybody's hand, right? If I want to generate a deepfake picture like this, it takes me 5 seconds. The generation process may take a minute, but the clicking takes 5 seconds. So to prepare for AI-driven future, right? I didn't write AI like that. To prepare for AI-driven future, we have to, particularly take, caution on the ethics and the AI education. So people will have to have the ability to, of course, right, to use AI themselves, understand what the limitation it is, and understand. Say, if you ask GPT-3 or 3.5, if you are trying to drive five T-shirts, and it took 5 hours to drive 5 T-shirts. Now I have 30 T-shirts. How much time do I need to drive 30 T-shirts? GPT 3.5 will tell you, okay, you drive 5 T-shirts in 5 hours. Then it's 1 T-shirt, 1 hour. 30 T-shirts, 30 hours. That's its response. If you tried it on your GPT-3, it will tell you exactly that. But if you try on GPT-4, it's more intelligent, so it will give you a correct answer. But GPT 3.5 or below, it couldn't solve that problem, because LLM is a sentence generating machine. So it generates sentences, carry on human-like conversations. It's not a calculation machine. So we have to understand in what circumstances it's good to use ChatGPT, or in what scenarios it's not so good for using ChatGPT. So we have to educate the next generation, the limitations, and how to properly use it, and also we have to have the ability to identify what is AI-generated content. Many companies are trying to solve it by something like a human identity on the internet, like Twitter, now it's called X, right? X.com. They try to verify the human by asking them to use their credit card to pay $1 as a sort of lazy KYC, know your customer effort. So many people are trying to solve that problem, but For me, I am positive in the future. But in the other way, I think it's inevitable that AI will be better at more things than human in the very in very near future. So the things that humans are better than AI is shrinking. All right, there are less and less of stuff that we are better than AI. We used to play chess better than AI. Now we can't do that. We used to fly drones, have drone competitions better than AI. Now AI beats us for 0.5 seconds in drone competitions, and so eventually we will everything that we used to do as a human will be inferior compared to an AI Android maybe. But I think if we really work with with the AI regulations and scientists, I think we will have a way to solve it. So. Well, because time is running up, so I'm going to skip this slide. It's not written by me anyway. And and this is my last slide, right? This image is a QR code. If you are sitting far enough away, you can see there's a QR code. If you're sitting near to the screen, you will see some old Hong Kong, pre-war, post-war period houses. And this was generated by Stable Diffusion, which is an AI tool, and it is scannable. It's scannable. When you scan it, it goes to my Facebook page. And lots of these kind of advancement is happening every day. And my artist friend told me, "Oh, you have a collection of these. You can have a own show of yourself." I said, "I just generate by clicking the computer, randomly generating nice graphics. I don't have any skills to do this. I just told them I want a QR code going to this URL with some old Hong Kong style houses, and it comes up like this. So it's changing lots of things, but I think we are in a very exciting time, and we have to embrace this technology. And of course, and also I am doing a lot of teaching on this topic, and try to get everybody to know or understand more about this technology. And so, as a very short presentation, I hope you will find something new. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith. That's a very impressive description of various use cases of generative AI across many different domains. But the one that's very interesting is the how they harness preference for certain tones or pitch, and they can harness that and make a very popular song. That's also why these best-selling songs are very similar, because they're generated by the same machines. But back to one point you mentioned about AI's sentence completion. Question was asked by a journalist, Jeffrey Hinton, one of the founders of generative AI. According to Jeff Hinton, he said, generative AI it looks like a sentence completion technology, but apparently it is much intelligent. It has its own intelligence, and we don't know yet where does it come from. So that's very interesting conversation to go forward. Definitely he mentioned about the use cases and potential legal issues. With us we have Anthony Tong. He's a lawyer who specializes in intellectual property, and he's been for some time, and he's a number of projects, and also some of the person who helped me with my research using AI for organizations and businesses. So he has a lot to say about a lot of potential legal loopholes and even risks. Us as individual users or even for organizations who are going to use generative. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to Professor Chandra for having me today. I'm so ashamed of myself on the time that I've taken to prepare the slides today. I won't tell you how long. So we have heard a lot of promises, very, very impressive possibilities of AI. And now the turn for bloody lawyer talks about perils. I hope it's not too much of an anticlimax, but there we go. As I was preparing my slides, and I said, oh, dear me, it gets me started. There's so many things to talk about, but obviously we couldn't cover them today. It will be impossible for you to get anything out of what I've written here. So basically, initially, these are the topics I want to mention, but obviously we won't be able to deal with each and every one of them. So I think I will skip straight to copyright, but of course we've heard about all the hallucinations, there's a risk there, and there is a liability that comes with risk. So these are things that are really tangible. But of course, if we have time, we can always go back there. But allow me to jump right away to a few slides that go straight into copyright. Copyright has come to the fore almost as soon as ChatGPT was launched. At one point, of course, Guy was mentioning about Elon Musk, and a few months back he said, can we put a halt to the development of AI? And then Bloomberg, they did a YouTube video, which was quite interesting. They say, can the law stop AI? And then they say, well, an unusual branch of the law does copyright, which may do the trick. I have no intention of stopping generative AI at all. We just hope to put God on the side in parallel with development. We're not going to put it right across the path of ChatGPT. We want it to flourish, obviously. So without further ado. First of all, let's talk about originality and authorship. Basically, in what circumstances can copyright subsist? The requirement is pretty low. It's basically long as you have exercise, independent judgment, skill, and labor, you have copyright. And then in Hong Kong, as in the UK, with this provision which says that, well, I need to say here, US is different. Okay. I'll explain a little bit later. The author of a computer-generated work is taken to be the one that makes the arrangement. But then this provision dated back to, we borrow it from a UK work, so it's dated back to at least 1988, to the UK parallel provision. So at that point in time, I can safely say that no one anticipated or envisaged the development and oncoming of generative AI. So, but if you just click in a few prompts, have you really exercised independent skill and labor? Of course, I'm shaking here, shivering when I say this, because expert Keeve is there, and he would tell you in iterative prompts how complicated, difficult, technical profession it is, which I'm sure is right, he's right. Those prompts, of course, that may attract copyright. But if I just say, can I have a drawing of a guy with a cap holding a milkshake, and then there comes a picture, can I own the copy? So that's the issue here. And then, so looking deeper into this section 11.3, it says that a person who makes the arrangements necessary for the creation of the work. On this provision, actually, this case says that it's meant for tools on a computer, like computer-assisted drawings, those sort of software, not ChatGPT that they have in mind. So if we have ChatGPT, who's arranging? There are a whole load of people. Are they collaborating? We have the AI developer. We have the user which entered the prompts, and we have the underlying data set. The owner of all the articles, all the images, photos, are they collaborating? They don't even know they are present. They are doing something each at different times. So there is an issue there as to whether there could be anyone can own it. So on to the US. This is a thing. He sues everywhere. Basically. So Dr. Thaler, he owns an AI system called Creativity Machine. He claims that this machine generated this painting. and then he seeks to register it, say, this is my painting. Well, this is the machine's painting, AI is the author. And then the US Copyright Office says, sorry, and then it goes to the district court saying, sorry, it has to be by human. You can't own AI generated work because it's not done by humans. So that's US position is very clear on copyright. And then for patent, I mean something inventions, things that is new, capable of industrial exploitation, whatever. Once again, UK is very clear on this as well. That the inventor has to be a human. If you're not a human, then you can't own copyright. So, and then we talk about infringement. Why would copyright law come to the fore? When it's usually always everyone assumes that, you may be copying something else, or well, no one will complain, whatever. It's because of massive litigation being started almost as soon as ChatGPT or generative AI is being introduced. Now, when it comes to infringement, we look at 3 points, the trinity, we say. The input, the output, and the exceptions. Because having done what you did, is there any exceptions allowed by law to allow you to do it, and then the output? Now, as Kiva said, generative AI models are large language models trained on huge data sets, which is then improved through the use of human trainers and other forms of feedback. So these are, I think I'm wrong to say they are not all of them are obtained without proper license. Some of them may be. I don't know. But surely from the litigation that we're now seeing, the plaintiff is complaining that you have taken my work and then you use it for training to generate the ultimate end product. So this is where we say copyright has been infringed, and in the UK they also have an additional right called data rights, where it's the data there that you misappropriated. So the first big case in the US, three visual artists led by McKernan. They do visual arts, very famous ones as well. One of them, Carla Ortiz, she actually did the design of the clothes of the dress of Doctor Strange in the movie Marvel. So they're really famous people. And they bring proceedings against Stability AI, and Kiva's mentioned Midjourney, and these internet art dealer, DeviantArt. They say that you've ingested troves of our paintings, our works. Allow the user to simply enter prompts like the name of the artist. I like her style. I like the way that she depicts certain things. Can I have a painting? Bang, and there you go. Yes, 3 minutes, probably. And you got an end product. So, and of course, Stability AI says, well, we're creating entirely new and unique images using simple word prompts. And this image do not or rarely resemble the image that are training data. That may be on the output when we look at that, but on the input side, you really have to enter and upload all these works data sets before you have the basic groundwork data sets to train your large language model. So they're saying this is copyright infringement. Now, another big case started by Getty Images, the company that provided a lot of stock photos for a fee, of course. And of course, it's also important to note that for each of these photos, they have a caption to allow and facilitate search to be done. So one to the left is the one that belongs to Getty Images. The one to the right is the one generated by AI. It's also interesting to note that, I'm not sure whether you can see it, the trademark, the name Getty Images actually is imprinted as a watermark on the left side, and there's a fuzzy image of certain words there, on the right side. So there are parallel proceedings in both US and UK. In UK, they're also suing for trademark infringement. I understand that they are suing Germany as well. So the reason why, I suspect, I don't know the answer for sure, I'm not representing any of the parties, why they're suing in different jurisdictions is because the defense are different. So that's why maybe that's a reason. And of course the loss in each and every jurisdiction is different, and they can claim the loss in different jurisdictions. So these are the actions brought, and Getty Images asserts that 12 million of their photos have been used to train stability diffusion. And so these photos, Getty Images say, they've been included, copies have been included in data sets, or links have been provided. And as I say, trademark infringement and passing off basically means unfair competition in a way, and this database right is also being sued. So this case is still ongoing. In the UK, there was a hearing earlier this week or late last week brought by Stability AI to argue that the infringement, if any, didn't take place in the UK because the training of data sets happened in the US. So there is an argument as to the jurisdiction, which is the right court to sue, whatever, also comes into place. So it's getting really complicated. And then another interesting aspect is voice cloning. We've heard about voice cloning. Both Harvey, Dr. Castro, and Keith has also said about voice cloning. So put it simply, it's very famous. It came to the fore all over the news earlier in the year with this Heart on My Sleeve song, claimed to have been written or published by someone called no one other than someone called Ghostwriter. Okay, his name suggests you know what it means. But basically, this guy, he personally wrote the lyrics. He wrote the music score. He just feed it into the generative AI with as the complaint using the recordings of Drake and The Weeknd, loads of them, in order to, and then he sing the song himself. And in the song, the end product comes out to be a song. There is a mimicry of the voice of Drake and The Weeknd. So is this copyright infringement? So surely, insofar as the input is concerned, the recordings of Drake and Weeknd have apparently been used. Otherwise, you couldn't have done it. Even though you're not copying the lyrics, you're not copying the music score, you were definitely copying the recording, because you have to upload the recording. And then there it's generated. So the output, there may not be copyright in a voice or the timbre of a voice per se, but there could be, we say, passing off or misrepresentation, because you are misleading the public into believing that this voice is the voice of Drake and The Weeknd. So there's a case there. So we talk about input, we talk about output as well, so there could be infringement in both cases. Now talk about the defense. In the US, I say it's different, because in the US, it has the fair use doctrine. It has 4 factors. Fair use is the best friend of lawyers in the US. Because when it's fair use, it means each case is dependent on its own facts. Each case is different. There's no sort of binding precedent. Every case has to be fought all till the bitter end. So the law is happy. But to the general public, there's no certainty. So that's the downside. But it's good that it's open-ended. So you can always get protection, or you can never get protection. So that's fair use, basically. So whether the purpose of use, whether it's just transformative, or the nature of the work, and how you're using it and the effect on the potential market, that itself entails a lot of expert evidence, which costs a lot of money to produce. So there's a good side and a bad side. And that's why I say this is being challenged all the time, because fair use. So if wherever you sue, whenever you sue, the defense is always fair use. So there's never any proper definitive answer. Way back more than 10 years ago, there's already a decision where people bring action against Google for scanning, digitizing their books, uploading it, and the court finds fair use because all Google did is to cataloging these articles, so that when you search it, they can produce snippets of your article, rather than allowing you to have full sight and view of the entire article. So that's fair use. Turn it in. academia. Turnitin is a very famous software for you to detect plagiarism. So there's dispute as to the student challenging why are you keeping my article for your archive for training purposes. And of course that's fair use because if you don't accumulate sufficient databases, you can never have a good enough database to detect plagiarism. So now this is a big thing. Text and data mining defense, TDM. What does TDM mean? Make it simple for everyone. TDM means scraping the internet. So basically it says technically the use of automated analytical techniques to analyze text and data for patterns, trends, and etc. So analysis is facilitated by the copying of a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, copyrighted content. So if you do TDM, which you all have to do for large language models, otherwise you can't train, then if there is no exception to TDM, then you will be held to be infringing something. Simple. So it depends on countries. It doesn't apply to US because US is just this. So in other jurisdictions like in Hong Kong, we have a close list of defense. Unless you appeal on these exceptions, then everything you do is copy. So it's pretty narrow. So TDM is definitely not amongst them. So it has not been introduced in Hong Kong, and therefore, as the matter currently stands, it doesn't. So doing TDM with someone's data sets is infringement. So these are international perspectives. UK, initially, they want to open it up, allow TDM. But then the creative industries fight back, saying, look, you can't. You have to take care of the creative industries' interests. So they're pushing back now. So they're now introducing an exception of TDM for non-commercial research only. How helpful is this? I don't know, because this is pretty narrow. But then there are suggestions that even with this defense, there could be what they call data laundering. Could someone be holding out under the guise of non-commercial use to research, do something else, get it started, and later turn it for commercial use later? So these are all the arguments that EU and it can be for any purpose, but then but limited to scientific research. Once again, limited. Japan, Singapore, they're the most aggressive countries. They basically allow TDM. Hong Kong, we are silent, but I take a lot of comfort that in the Chief Executive's address just last week, he promised that there will be a consultation on protection, on review of the copyright ordinance on TDM-related provisions. Not exactly TDM, but AI. So I can't wait on that. So, and then now having talked about defense output, technological sector will say output is simply a statistical approximation. It's a guess. It's a sentence generating feature, but can it be? But all we look at is whether the output is a substantial reproduction. Is it a copy? If it is, then basically it's infringement. So finally, the last 2 points, last 2 slides, I want all of you to have some take-homes that I've come up with. These are definitely not exhaustive. I'm not giving legal advice, so don't sue me for any omission or inaccuracies or whatever I am. I just can't bring them up. So 7 points there. Prohibit your staff from uploading confidential information to generative AI models. Just assume that whatever you upload, it will be published to the open world. So that's a rule of thumb. Please do. And 2, understand IP in the generative AI context globally. You've heard it. Different countries probably have different rules. Number 3, don't use generative AI if you really want to own your IP of what you are generating. Like you're writing source code, writing computer programs, then you better be careful because you may be voluntarily relinquishing exclusivity or rights. And then, of course, risk of infringement, as I've mentioned. Understanding in terms of service generative AI, who owns what? Apparently, OpenAI, generative AI, and ChatGPT, they are assigning all rights in your work to yourself. But what rights there is another matter. But different service providers have different provisions. You have to check it out yourself. and then prevent generative AI model from using your own data. This you have to be careful. There are providers who says that we are not keeping your data, we're not allowing anyone access. And then finally, investing into generative AI, you must understand the various issues with impact on valuation. Because when you're investing, you want to know what you're investing. Last year, everyone talked about NFT, and when people ask me, they say you might just well be buying bragging rights and not anything else. It's about copyright licensing. So it's simple. You just have to. You may have bought a lot, you may not have bought anything. So I think that's it for now. But I look forward to further discussion with you during the Q&A session. Thank you.
That's a really impressive suggestion from a lawyer. I really enjoyed that. The last slides, the 7 points key takeaway. But I'm kind of trying to connect a little bit between what Keith mentioned and what Anthony mentioned. It seems that the question of value, commercial value, could have shifted. In the past, it's the images, the voices that is created that has commercial value. Could it be now that value shifted to the prompt? Right now there are prompts market. You could buy beautiful output. And people are selling prompts. And there are people buying and selling. There's a market. And I think that's very interesting. So the question is it the method? Is it the process that could be copyrighted instead of those output? I don't know. Something we can continue discussing. The last speaker that we have is Mr. Ivan Lau. He's an entrepreneur, tech entrepreneur. He has a company that creates face synthesis, so faces of people that can change, and that is automated by AI. So he's in Japan, and he's connected with us via Zoom. I hope he can hear us. Hi, Ivan. Are you ready there? Can you hear me? Yeah, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, guys. It's good to be here. And I'm not sure after Anthony's chat I should continue with my talk. But anyway, so thank you guys for the founder and Lab. So what we do is we try to, I would say, commercialize what we do with generative AI. We are very focused in the digital human, the AI digital human ecosystem.
Thanks to advanced this creates an enormous opportunity for brands looking for the perfect model for their photo shoot or video. Our friends at Pantheon Lab are revolutionizing avatar creation with powerful new tools to let brands create the perfect ambassador for their company. Pantheon's virtual agents are perfect for e-learning, and thanks to advances in GPT, they're becoming fully interactive customer service and sales agents with applications extending from taking orders at a fast food restaurant to helping travelers.
Yeah. So that's basically us. We are. So we started out back in 1990. Back then there wasn't a term of generative AI. But we were very deep learning, researching on the generative AI for the past few years. I think some of the fun fact is that when GPT was still in the 2.0 era, we actually started trying to understand and try to integrate that into our human ecosystem. So I guess a lot of people were asking why are we doing digital human? I think in my current country, Japan, this is a very good case here because there are a few things. I think the top thing is about the aging workforces, not just Japan, but across the whole world, right? So we're not trying to replace the human. We're trying to fill that gap that is getting wider and wider. mismatch talent shortages, and such. The overall has been focusing this issue. So the human market is actually getting bigger, and the good things about the human is that of course you are thinking in the brain perspective, using the human as brain maximum is actually very risk-free. Given that of course again here all the copyright issues are solved. We do actually create that part for you. Some of the influencers across the world, these are actually happening in Japan. There's this Ina in the US, Makila, Korea, China. Everyone is trying to bring this humans into the chance. This is a Hong Kong example that was done by us last year with Huawei. So we help Huawei to create their own digital ambassador, so that I think it was quite a bit viral last year. I'm not sure if you might have seen it. We're broadcasting it in different TV screens in central area. And we also help some companies in Southeast Asia, Singapore, for example, to create their AI MC to even host a seminar, for example. Yeah, and of in terms of tools, when you want to do it at home by yourself, we also have a SaaS model that let you choose different ethnicities of digital human using generative AI technology to bring that lock and just that running short and with more generative technology, we could create something like this. The music that just hearing were all from generative today, digital human background, all done with generative. So these are some of the cases that we have been helping clients to roll out. And with the advance of AI, we are also integrating that into different use cases. For example, how you could personalize your experience with AI in a shopping wayfinding, digital human guiding you to places, doing recommendations, and digital team happen on just your screen. As long as there is something that we could display, be it a robot, be it a partner runs robotic here, be it ordering kiosk in a restaurant, or even just a simple guest experience at your office. Something we can do that. And with the GPT or the large language model advancement, we're bringing that more human experience, integrating that into your company's database or even some marketing management system, payment gateway. When you ask them to perform actions, that's what we can do. So this is an example for like an airport experience, for example.
Medical devices, electronics, food items.
And in conclusion, we have been using generative AI technology for the B2B cases. So we have been helping out in different verticals now, from public services to restaurants to shopping malls to properties and even website enhancements. So that's basically us. And if there's anything we can help you with, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's give them a big applause. That's a very impressive description of digital humans, which I think is making more and more presence in our screens, in the media that we're watching. But I think that sort of bring back the debate that is going on right now in academic circles, in the top journal, about whether AI's role as augmentation or replacement of human augmentation coexist and help us, or replace human labor. But it seems to me that these digital humans have an obvious impact on replacing some humans who are screen and content, delivering content. But again, I think the discussion is more nuanced. It's about augmentation or augmentation. So we've got all four presentations done. Actually, I have a long list of questions here. If I'm asked, I'm afraid we'll take a minute. Let's go to the four. Let's have your questions. Let's do it. If there's anything I could ask, I'll just jump in. Let's have the floor open. Any questions? There's one question over there. I thought you were asking.
It's a very simple question in terms of like intellectual property. When you were explaining about IP, what we're looking at is there's no jurisdiction when it's online. So is there like any conversations in the industry about having a platform that would be able to mitigate, or what would be the core jurisdiction? Will it depend on where it's created? Will it create sort of like a tax haven, sort of favored location for people to take advantage of before the policies would come into place? That's a simple question. Sorry.
Thank you for the question. My first response to Ivan is that I think 500 years ago Shakespeare asked for all lawyers to be killed, so there's a reason today. But anyway, thanks for the question. Your question actually is very apt, and that just come out today. It came out when internet came into being 30-40 years ago. So and then people look at the way we obviously trace the server. Because you have an LLM model, there is a place where you place the server. There's a place where you develop the model. So that's what we look at.
And as I've mentioned, proceedings for simply like getting images case.
They started in
US, they started in UK, and UK is really challenging.
I'm not infringing
in the UK, I'm not doing anything here.
It's done elsewhere.
So that's the challenge. So I can't say, and I shouldn't say where is the haven for copy, whatever. But then in our work, in our job, we do trades. We have a lot of trades to get started.
And maybe on discount,
maybe Keith knows better as to where or whatever.
You save a place.
You save a place to do it. I don't know.
I think the simplest place is to do it on your own computer. But I want to chip in some of my thoughts. Because as technology advances, so Anthony mentioned that I think Harvey mentioned that there will be Android that is powered by generative AI and AI as a whole. And when these humanoid AIs learn something because they are learning just like us, they are looking at pictures, they are reading text, and then they some sort of digest it, and then they create something new from what they learn. So how can you rule someone, whether it's a human or an android, they learn something and create something new based on these things they learn. How can you rule them copyright infringement?
Yeah, that's the most common attack against the right owner. Number one, I think we shouldn't anthropomorphize AI. It's not human, of course. You have to feed in someone's work before you can do the training. And of course, basically that's universal. Every copying is a restricted copyright. So you're taking someone's work. And when we look at copying infringement, we also look at the end product to see whether it is a copy, i.e. substantial reproduction of the copyright owner's work. So we say obviously we allow people to reverse engineer stuff. Actually remember there's one occasion when I was before the court of appeal where the judge specifically says that reverse engineering has been around for decades, if not centuries. That's how we improve on human mankind. But then of course we can't misappropriate or you can definitely look at someone's work and try to improve on it with something else, but that cannot be a substantial reproduction of someone's current work. So that's basically my answer.
Impressive.
Impressive.
I've got
a quick question to Harvey. He's a medical doctor
in the panel. The question is about the liability.
You know, surgeons, medical doctors can consult AI to get a particular sort of procedures for treatment, medical medicine, or medicine.
If something
goes wrong
with the recommended
information provided by this AI,
who's liable here?
Who's liable?
How can we
kind of protect
the public here
from
patients
searching information for medical
cure for themselves,
or even doctors,
nurses looking for
information through AI?
Excellent question.
I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and I've asked different lawyers their thoughts on this, and the conclusion that I've gotten is the following. Again, this is not legal advice, like the lawyer said earlier, but basically it's this. As a doctor, look at AI as another tool, like ordering a CAT scan, do blood work. Ultimately, the liability falls in the doctor's hands. So if the AI makes a mistake, hallucinates, it goes back to the doctor, because think of it as if I ordered a CAT scan, and it gave me information, but I misinterpreted it, or I'm the final person or woman that makes the final call.
So in that respect,
what's really interesting is when the standard of care changes, let's just pretend that we pick out an AI, one particular radiology AI that does everything, and that becomes the standard of care. At that point, then legally you could go after the company or the vendor that built the product.
Now what's really
interesting in the United States, the president of the American Medical Association is going around the country trying to convince different hospital systems to change the way the rules are, because as a doctor I have no say what AI is used in the hospital.
And so if I don't know
how it works or hallucinates,
then it's
on me still. And so he wants to change it. So now on the patient side, unfortunately that's hard. I'm all out there raising the flag, teaching patients, but I think it's ultimately education. We need to tell our patients as a provider, have a sign saying, hey, if you use ChatGPT or Dr. Google, make sure that you understand that it hallucinates, it makes mistakes. Make sure you verify it with an expert.
Maybe I'll just supplement on this. There's a US case in the Manhattan Federal Court where a lawyer is fined for $5,000 for submitting a written submission which contains 6 cases which are fabricated by ChatGPT.
He didn't check
carefully.
Not only did he didn't check, not only that, but when the judge queried the authenticity of the case, he said, my lord, I've asked ChatGPT, it says it's accurate. And when it turns out even the plaintiff is wrong, it's a case against an airline. So he came up with 6 cases involving 6 different airlines. 6 plaintiffs, and it's all wrong. So it's quite funny. But the judge says, I have no objection to you using ChatGPT, but you've got to check it.
Yes, one question here.
One question here.
Yes, I'm Jackie. I'm a Beatles friend. So excited that today they released a new song for John.